Marissa, all right. So what do you want to say? It's not. I always struggle with the wording of this one. So you want to say both kids are affected? So if it's more than 2 kids, you mean to say all kids are affected? All right. Okay. Is that so? Other people are raising their hands. So that it's certainly possible that the kids could be affected. Is it guaranteed that all kids are affected? No. All right. Is it even guaranteed that any of the kids will be affected? No, it's not super likely, but if they got both parents are big M, little m, you could get a bunch of little m kids. So I've sort of struggled with what to put here. Sometimes I say, maybe some, I guess I would say this, I would say some kids can be, if you wanted to be really fussy about getting it right, can be affected. I probably should have edited it a little bit, right? Because you could have a situation where they're all affected. You could actually have the situation where none of them are affected. It's just that there's a higher chance of it. All right? Questions about that? Oh, and I got a tweet that says there's two girls in the 5th row who are chatting an awful lot. I'm not quite sure 5th row where, but you can count where you are. I would ask you to knock it off. Thank you. I don't know which 5th row, so it's either 5 up or 5 down. I'm sure you know who you are. So thank you for doing that. All right. All right, the last one I want to talk about okay, and this is, for example, red, green, color blindness. Okay, and it turns out, so whether this is really a disease or not is a question. It's at least a different. Let me write this more neatly. Sorry. There are a variety of kinds of color blindness. This is the most common in humans, controlled by one gene on the X chromosome. All right. So here, the allele symbols contribution. We got to use our X's. So X big B is normal color vision, and that's dominant. X little b is red, green, color blind, and that's recessive. And Y has no contribution to phenotype, and it's simple dominance. Okay, and if you check on the lecture website for today's lecture, you'll see there's actually a link to some color blindness tests and things like that, so you can see what the world would look like if you have red-green color blindness. It turns out, as I said, my youngest son is red-green colorblind, and there's probably more than one male in this room is also colorblind. It's a few % of the human population. So if I do, as an example, my family, then here's the following. It's a slightly complicated family tree. Okay. So this one, let's see if I get this right. If you think about this one, well, I'll tell you in a second what the story is on that. You know, to be honest, I wouldn't laugh because, you know, the thing is, many people's family trees are not as simple and straightforward as you might think. And also, this is me over here, BW. All right, how's this go? So let me get this all straight. It's like I said, it's kind of hard. It's multi-generational, as all these things are. My dad was colorblind. My mom is not. All right, so these are my kids. So I have 2 sons. Will, who's not colorblind, and Jason, who is. Right? So, sorry for the spastic drawing. I'm still trying to learn how to use this tablet. But, so what's going on here? This is me. That's my wife. My wife's mother had kids with 2 different dads. It turns out, so my wife is adopted. And so, actually, this guy we know nothing about. So, he's a sort of mystery guy. Was my my wife's father. But she also had 2 sons with her current husband, one who is colorblind and one who's not. So that's me and my wife and my 2 sons, one of whom, Jason, who's affected, and Will, who's not. And my dad also turns out to have been red-green colorblind. So let's do some phenotype, genotype table. And let's do it. I'm going to write them all out because it's sex-linked, so it starts to matter whether it's he or she. So for a second, take your time and talk to your neighbor about the phenotype is those and what the genotype, what you know about the genotype for each of those, given this model we got here. And I'm going to try to straighten up this diagram a little bit so it's not quite so rickety looking. So talk to your neighbors about the genotypes and phenotypes. That's a little better.